Woo! What it do, snackers, snackets, and snack X's? It's your boy Gage. You are now tuned in to Loading Snacks Weekly, where we get together once a week and we talk about things that are happening in pop culture. What's up, Candace? What up, Cuddy? Cuddy says, love the Sin Pinch over the weekend. How can people get some? I don't know that people will be able to get those. I'll fill you in on that momentarily. Andrews, hello. Can't stay all night. Got to be working 4:30 a.m. tomorrow. You know what, Andrew? Me too. So I'll feel you on that. Not unlike last week, tonight will be a little bit different than what we're used to. It's just me tonight. Jokes is working, which it wasn't really part of the plan for him to be here necessarily for this episode anyway. So what we're gonna do tonight is go over how the weekend was at Fairfax Comic Con. Again, continue to talk about some of the ways that we can remember sin and help support the family. We'll talk about what this upcoming weekend will be like, as we do have a booked show / appearance. What's up, Mike? At Miryokucon this weekend. So the show might be a little bit shorter than normal, but we'll see how it plays out. A little bit of behind the scenes, backstage kind of stuff. I don't generally when prepping this show, most of the prep is generally just an outline. There really isn't ever like a specified way that we do things. We have some topics that I post, and I generally know like what kind of stuff we want to look at, but like where it goes in the show and how that happens is, kind of up for grabs, because really this show is intended to be conversational between those of us who are directly on the show and for anybody who's watching or listening. And so the folks in the comments and kind of responding to those things and so forth. So again, obviously we'll be working through some changes and updating some things. I want to start with this evening by saying that, so just due to circumstances, which I'm positive everybody understands, the movie club movie of the month is going to be bounced to next month. Normally we would have recorded that probably last week, but normally we would have pre-recorded that the way we do it now, and then set that up to go live so people could watch it yesterday. It usually goes live. It's usually the last Monday of each month. But under the circumstances, we need to call an audible. And so that's where we are on that. What's up, Gia? So we are going to move that to next month and bump. And we were kind of off by a month anyway with some of that stuff. So it'll probably be better for us to just move it to next month. So currently, that's what the plan is. We were actually gonna try to watch it over the past weekend, but it's subtitled, and just for whatever reason, I don't think any of us were just in the mood to like have to think hard enough to like try to pay attention to what was going on and read subtitles, across the evenings. So, hey, Ma. So yeah. So, there will be a tribute show. We've been putting together some footage. I worked on a bunch of stuff to get together, just kind of show some old like archive footage and stuff like that we have of Sin. And that'll probably go live by the weekend, give or take how things go, but before the weekend is out, more than likely, at least. What's up, Sam? Very good to see you over the weekend as well. And once that goes up, like I'll probably run it live so that people can comment, and so forth if they want to. We have a bunch of archive footage that, in a lot of cases, even if we uploaded it to YouTube and it sits like on the backside of YouTube, it is stuff that never went live. It never went public. So there's stuff that's there, that's footage that we have that's never been seen. And I started putting stuff together, but then there's a bunch of stuff that, for instance, like Kay has, that because he used to do all of our editing back in the day, like he's got just like a lot of bloopers and things like that. And sometimes some of that stuff made some of the shows we were doing as we were doing them. It might be an intro or at the end of something or something along those lines. But there's a lot of stuff like that. Just kind of a lot of us messing around and laughing and making mistakes and, that kind of stuff. That when you're together every week and you're, trying to create something or trying new things or doing things that are different and kind of learning on the go as you go. We make a lot of mistakes and we made a lot of fun of each other for doing it. And while also encouraging each other to keep going and to get better and so forth. So, I'll get that out before the end of the week. J. Robert Deans, what's up, sir? How are you? It was good to see you over the weekend. Heather, how are you? Always a pleasure to see you. In the meantime, I'm pretty sure almost everybody here has put something, if they have it, up. But there is still the Facebook group that is available for people to go. And again, a lot of people are doing a great job of posting pictures and so forth, but I also want to continue to encourage people to share memories they have. So even if they don't have pictures, I did just drop the link to the Facebook group in there. So again, it's open to the public so people can go and can share and so forth. What's up, Kermit? How are you, sir? Leah, hello. Did you see BTS V throw the first pitch of the Dodgers game? I did not. It is recently all of my K-popping has been Netflix Universal K-popping. We're gonna get to that actually, because this weekend was pretty incredible in terms of having the opportunity to check out K-pop Demon Hunters in the theater for the live sing along. People are asking if I have footage. The answer is absolutely I do. And if you are wondering when and where that will go live, at some point this weekend, I'll make sure that y'all get to see and hear jokes singing like real hard. I do also want to remind everyone that the GoFundMe for Sins Services and so forth is still live. I did have a couple people say that maybe they had a little bit of trouble with it, but I haven't, maybe like one or two people. I haven't had very many people say they're having trouble with it. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who has donated in any way. It's been extremely helpful. There's a lot that's going on. And so every little bit is just wonderfully helpful, just to kind of help soothe some of the things that are going on in the background, mentally, to know that there's, a bucket that's there to help take care of some of those things. So, again, if you've given already, thank you. If you wouldn't mind sharing, please do. Thank you. What up, Adam and the entire MSR crew? I'm so happy to see y'all back up and running as the MSR podcast. We'll have to absolutely get together sometime soon and do a collab of some sort. Rob, yeah, we had a great time at K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm a little disappointed in how hard it was to hear you singing from a few seats over, but you know, I know we'll get there. Lee says K-pop Demon Hunters is too cute. It is. I'm gonna say it's better than cute, but for sure. And yeah, jokes. I got that footage. I know you haven't seen it, but I definitely have it. I will say Frosty asked me to make sure that she doesn't get seen in the footage, even though I have her in the footage, and I can't make any promises. I'm just gonna get that out the way. What's up, dear? How are you, dear? Uh, I think it's Jin Rumi is how we actually ship these two. Leah. Leah says K-pop Demon Hunters was very therapeutic. I agree. There was nothing like it. J. Robert Dean's asking how long the GoFundMe will stay live. I mean, I don't have an ending date at all. This is, it will definitely be live through this weekend, and probably for the next couple of weeks. Again, there's some pending things that any additional dollars will still be helpful for. The good folks at Miryokucon are doing some of the same things we saw over the weekend at Fairfax, and they'll be posting and attaching the GoFundMe, and so hopefully we can generate a little bit more from there as well. Leah says, "Love the Derpy Tiger." To be honest, might be the best thing about the movie Loki. Masar says, "No doubt." Yeah, man, we'll definitely figure something out, Adam. J. Robert Deans. Rob singing is an incredible feat. You must witness. Rob actually has, I don't know why you would be surprised, but Rob has an incredible singing voice. And we have karaokeed on multiple occasions, and he always does an incredible job. We've done duets. I mean, some of the best. Don't be sad, Frosty. Again, I can't promise I won't show that footage, but you know, we were having a good time, and like in a lot of ways, it was for sin. Oh, Joke said Tatiana got footage too. Wonderful. I saw her recording, and I feel like she was only recording you, though I wouldn't be surprised if I'm in there somewhere. Not at all. That's right, Rob. Super singer. Leah says, "Find me at Awesome Con. I will have Derpy Tiger pants." Perfect. I will find you at Awesome Con. That is so far away though. That's like March. Heather said, "I enjoyed the sing along." Heather, where did you go see the sing along? Oh, daughter. Oop. Sorry about that, y'all. You refuse to watch K-pop Demon Hunters. I know you do, and I can't really put my finger on why, but it's really good, and you should watch it. If you don't want to watch it with me, you can watch it by yourself, and then you can come back and report to me how good it was. So Robert Dean says, "We'll mention it in the newsletter to you folks." Awesome. Greatly appreciate that. J. Robert Dean's, again, every little bit helps. Right, what do you mean you used to getting old? I still kill it. You still kill it, bro. Like, you know what? We'll have to record it next time. That way it'll officially be there so that we both have proof that not only did you do it, but you still got it. J. Robert Dean said, "I think it's more that he would sing among strangers, not that he doesn't have the chops." Oh, well, the last time we did it, we got a karaoke room, and so it was really just amongst friends. And then the prior time to that, it was his birthday, and we were in a public setting, but most of the people there were there for his birthday, so it was also people he knows, but it was a lot of people. Also, he did a lot of drinking and doesn't really remember all of it, I'm pretty sure. So, you know. Heather, you went to a Horizon Cinema in Harford County. Okay. We ended up going to the Alamo Draft House. Shout out to Alamo Draft House's soft pretzels. Not with queso, but with regular mustard. I guess queso for those who can't help themselves. Rob says, oh, hold on. Yeah, Rob says, Robert, I've been in multiple cover bands. Now, when you say that, Rob, it makes it sound like you maybe got kicked out of multiple cover bands, and that makes it seem like maybe you can't sing as well as you do. So I wouldn't worry about that. And Frosty, what's blasphemy? The queso for the pretzel? Come on, don't be like that. But yes, Gia, soft pretzels, and I'm telling you, it was incredible. It was incredible. I have been disappointed by soft pretzels relatively recently in the past. And this one was super spot on. Rob says, I played the VIP side stage at Nissan Pavilion back in the day for the Aerosmith Motley Crue concert. Of course you did, because again, got the chops. Frosty, the pretzel with queso is top tier. If the top tier is below the soft pretzel with mustard, like I don't know how else to like make that clear. I don't think that pretzel and queso is better than pretzel and mustard, but you know what? If your taste buds tell you so, then it must be so for you. Anyway, I want to talk about Fairfax Comic Con for a moment. This convention is the first time I've been to Fairfax Comic Con. First of all, come on, y'all. Rossi said incorrect, but it's fine. You're entitled to be wrong. And this is true. I'm also entitled to be right. And in my head, well, Lindsay, I'm not singing that. You say it out loud for me. Rob, man, I'm 48, 45 bands over time. It's just people moving and getting older. You know what? You still got the chops, bro. I've seen it myself. Anna says soft pretzels with mustard are the best. I can't argue with that. Frosty says, Lindsay, no. I did read that out. Fairfax. This is the first time I've been to Fairfax. Sin and Jokes went to Fairfax together last year. And I missed it. I was doing something else. So this is my first time there, though I've been to that convention center many times. So I'm familiar with it and familiar with the setup and location and so forth. I knew that there would be a lot of people there. And our original plan, just in case anybody doesn't know, and in light of the circumstances, we decided that it was probably best if Jokes did not go to New York and instead came to Fairfax with me, so we could just be amongst people that we knew and who we knew Sin, and that it would probably be therapeutic and helpful and so forth. Leah says Frozen Gage. Hopefully I'm back and you guys can see me all right. And so that's what we decided to do. So I shot up on Friday and met up with Frosty and Kurt and Rob, Lindsay, and we went and got dinner at a Mexican / Salvadorian restaurant. And look, here's the thing. I don't ever mean any harm. I'm just being me. And I had questions about the menu. I don't often go to Mexican restaurants. And there were questions that I had about things that were on the menu. And Rob, sassy and delicious. I don't know if you mean the restaurant or me or both. Could be. Um, the waitress, who I want to say was phenomenal. She was great. I asked her a couple of what I felt like were simple, you know, um, they were simple questions. Frosty said, engaged became best friends with the waitress. She definitely wasn't annoyed at all. First of all, Frosty, she was not annoyed. I was her best friend in there. Hey, Zaina. I just asked her the difference between two dishes that I wasn't sure about. And she looked at me like, why are you even looking at those two things when there's all this other stuff on the menu? Well, first of all, because I don't know that these are the things I shouldn't be even considering ordering. Like, you are now letting me know there's a section of your menu that's trash. That's what you're saying to me, which is kind of what I said to her. So it was just like, what? So then what should I get? That's all. It was great. It wasn't bad. But she did say I was being sassy and giving her a hard time. First of all, she gave me a hard time. See, Rob, you know what? Cranberry juice in all caps is making it sound diabolical. You all were struggling with your alcohol orders, and she was being very nice and dealing with you all and your changes. And I want my this with my that, and my other this with my that. Doctor Who says, hey, everybody. And hey, Gage, what up, Doctor Who? Where's Frankie? Sleep, maybe, because of school this week. Tell him I said, hey. Frank, too. I didn't mean to leave Frank out. Frank and Frankie. And Frosty said it was incredibly entertaining to witness. I don't know what we witnessed. I didn't do anything, y'all. This is the... I didn't do anything. You all made very difficult requests for your alcohol. And when she asked me what I wanted, I said cranberry juice. And she looked at me like I broke something because I wanted cranberry juice. What happened before... Lindsay, nothing happened before you and Rob walked in. Literally nothing. All I did was ask for cranberry juice. That's all. And I think she was slightly offended because it wasn't alcohol or because it was easy. I don't know. Leah says, oh goodness, sounds like a lot of high maintenance food requests by the crowd. It wasn't. It was kind of high maintenance. It wasn't, Rob. It was kind of high maintenance drink requests. Heather wants to know how you're doing, Doctor Who. I'm gonna let y'all have at it in the chat. J. Robert Dean says this story either ends with Gage getting a phone number or a restraining order. How about both? Robert Dean, how about that? How about I got both? I didn't get either, but I did end up getting the food that she suggested. Whew. Yeah, I'm gonna let y'all have at it in the comments, Doctor Who. What up, Kay? Yeah, the Wayne Tech is real, for sure. The text being difficult. I actually probably can fix it. I'm just being lazy. KB, what up, bro? Good to see you. Appreciate you reaching out to me. Thank you for joining. Happy to join us tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Yeah, Lindsay, you didn't really miss much. We were having a good time, and you guys walked in right as the good times were starting. You didn't really miss anything. I did end up having a fajita and eating some of it because that's what was suggested, and I wasn't really sassy, but she said I was. Yeah, what was the dish I asked about? So they had a dish that was so they had a carne asada and they had like a carne guido or guida, and I didn't know what the difference was. So I just asked what the difference was. What's up, Rod? Good to see you. Did I though what, Zaina? I did eat some. I didn't eat the onions. I ate most of the meat. They brought out the tortillas after the plate, and I had already started eating, and then I left the tortillas, and I meant to take them with me, and I let them clear from the table before I took it with me. J. Robert Dean says, I mean, Dr. Who said J. Robert Dean's, those are the only two options, a number or police. For J. Robert Dean's, yes. That's it. Those are the only two options based on where the story is going. Andrew wants to know, did Joseph get to meet the OG Blue and Pink Rangers? Well, funny you should ask. It's not really funny, Andrew. David Yost, the original Blue Ranger, walked into this Mexican restaurant by himself while we were having shenanigans at the table, and we left him alone. Jokes wasn't there. And when we were at the convention, they were like uncaged animals in the lines for the Rangers. And so we never went over there. We kind of tried, and then he did not. Frosty says, I just ate the meat and rice and drank my cranberry juice. Don't you forget it. You know what I'm saying? Lindsay, yeah, she was offended that I asked about the carne asada, as if like I shouldn't, like I was ordering from the wrong place on the menu. She literally said, of all the things on the menu, you're looking at that. And I was like, oh, all right. So then where should I be looking? That was how this got. This is how this got where it was. Isn't that right, Frosty? Yeah. So I don't know. I just asked a couple questions. I was trying to make it easy, and she was making it difficult. And she looked like she could beat up everybody at the table together. So, you know, she was like, get the fajita. And I was like, okay. that's how it went. You know what I'm saying? Kurt said, I think she was looking for a fight. That's what I'm saying, Kurt. Maybe a little bit. She was looking for a fight. And I would have fought her. I'm not saying it would have turned out well. But, you know, if it had come to it, I would have for another cranberry juice. Guida sounds made up. I believe, again, this was a restaurant that was Mexican and El Salvadorian. So I just think that there are some dishes that are slightly different based on the way they prepare it slightly differently based on those things. And so, again, I was just asking what the difference was, because there were pictures, but they didn't have pictures of everything. And to be honest, the way it was labeled on the pictures was a little bit confusing. And I was the only person there, I think, anyway, sitting at our table who didn't know like what they wanted. Like everybody else seemed to already know what they wanted. And I was like, so when she was like, you should get this, you shouldn't even look at that. And then I was like, so you telling me this, none of this is safe? And then I said, cool, I'll have a burger. And then she was like, you gonna come to a Mexican restaurant and get a burger? And I was like, is it not a Mexican burger? It's on your menu. And she was like, no, it's not a Mexican burger. And I was like, so then what should I get? And that's how we ended up on fajita. So yeah. Leah said, don't forget to stretch before you fight, oil up too. You know what? At my age, I probably should stretch before I fight. But if it had to happen under the circumstances, we'd have just dealt with it. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it was. Rob said it took me a minute to figure out what I wanted. Well, you know what, Rob? You had extra time to figure it out because she was picking on me. So it was cool. Leah said, tie your hair back. I don't go anywhere without extra hair ties. I'm always ready. Always ready. Frosty said shit was so funny. It was funny to you, Frosty. And Rob said the burger line was amazing. It was necessary, Rob. That's what I can tell you. It was necessary. Yeah, it was super funny to you, Frosty, which again was fine. Anyway, we actually had a really good time at dinner. This was how it started. We had a wonderful time at dinner. There were drinks. We had some really good conversation about sin and missing him and things of that nature, and got some things out of our systems, which was cool. And then, the next day, Jokes came in, and we went over to the convention. My oldest, Zaina, drove up and met us at the convention and hung out with us for a while on her way to New Jersey to the G Dragon concert. So she hung out with us for a while. Some of her friends met us up there, and mostly we just walked around and talked to people. We didn't shoot content. I kind of interviewed somebody, but that was just because I couldn't help it. I met somebody I didn't know who was with somebody I did know, and they were doing something interesting, and I had a lot of questions, and it kind of turned into what would have been otherwise an interview, if that's what we were doing, but we weren't. But it was really good to see everybody. We walked in and went to the Comic Logic booth, and Kurt specifically was thoughtful enough to put a poster together that had Sin's picture on it, and had the QR code on it, and they had that hanging at the booth. He was also nice enough to give me a poster size version of that same poster, which will end up back here at some point. I rode the train out there and Jokes drove, so we put it in his trunk so I wouldn't have to carry it on the train. And so I'll have to retrieve it. Zayna, is that gang specifically for G Dragon? Because we don't do the G Dragon gang. I just want you to know. Kurt said, love you, man. Love you back, Kurt. Really appreciate you. On top of that, Kurt is the person who put these pins together that everyone has been asking about. So there is a bit of a story behind that. So a number of years ago, Leah said, I love the pins. Thank you for that. I've been getting a lot of that. A lot of messages and a lot of people hitting me up and asking me about the pins. A number of years ago, Kurt made these basically Judge Dredd badges that had our names on them. We each got two, a green and an orange, that were like a transparent green and orange. And over the weekend prior, when I was helping to clean out Sin's room at home, I came across his pin, his badge. And I took it to keep it. And I took a picture of it and I sent it to Kurt and asked Kurt if he still had the file, if he could make more of them. Zaina said it was 2GD as well as the whole Con family. There was a lot of love in the room, and it felt really good to be there in that space. Agreed, Zaina. There was a lot of you kind of raising the roof to kind of keep some of the tears down, and I completely understand. So because Kurt is Kurt jumped into action. It's like, let me see if I have the file. Found the file. It's like, I got it. What do you need? I asked for purple. He didn't have clear purple, quote unquote, but he had this, and he said he thought it would look really good. After some other discussion, without going into all of the super details, Kurt was like, You know what I mean? By the time the convention comes. And he did. Like he put it together and he just made good on it. Like he dove like headfirst into it. And it was wonderful and it was beautiful. And then um saying to say, hey, partay, me every 5 minutes to everyone and myself. It was a little tough in there. But again, it was helpful. Um, Also, essentially, the first thing that happened once we walked in and I got to the Comic Logic table, Krista from Comic Logic made these bracelets that said "Sin." There actually are also ones that say "Loading Snacks." It's one of the things that I feel like has gotten the most comments. There are people who ask about the bracelets, but most people are like, "I really need one of those pins." Um, and there are some people like what we've been doing as Loading Snacks is a thing that is almost 11 years old now. And Sin's name being technically being sincere, and Sin is short for sincere. A lot of people don't really necessarily realize that because he doesn't really introduce himself as sincere anymore. He used to. Um, and The name Sin is more or less the only thing most people know him by within those circles, in like the con circle, in the gaming circle, in a lot of cases, and in the pop culture circles. His family doesn't really know him as Sin. They call him Low, short for London, which is what we called him for years. I mean, I've called him many things. I've called him many things, but in terms of the family, like they call him Low. It's short for London, and that's what they know him by. And so Sin is really a moniker that is special and stands really as its own thing and an establishment of who he was in that space. In some cases, maybe even slightly in another persona. Like he was always who he was, no matter where he was. But I think for a lot of us, when we really talk about and think about the things that we do and the things that we love, we know that there are circles that understand every bit of it. And then there's like our family circle, which like knows we do a thing, but it's not necessarily their thing. So they don't quite get how deep it is or how big of a deal it is or what it means and how wide reaching it can be. And um seeing an additional poster at the Dean's family table, at Sam's table specifically, but the Dean's family table as well. I have had other conventions at this point reach out asking for, again, posters so that they can post it and have it up. Miryokucon, which is where we'll be this weekend. Initially, our plan for them was we agreed. They asked us. We initially put in to do a panel, so we're doing a Being Comfortable Being a Geek panel there on Saturday. We were asked to host their celebrity guest panels. And it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Obviously, Friday, we can't do that. We can't be there because we have Sin's service. They had a table at Fairfax. And we had already talked to them, but we got to talk to them a bit more. Since leaving Fairfax, with us not being able to be there Friday, we kind of, were able to make sure they had somebody that could take care of doing at least the panel that we can't do on Friday. But they since told us that they are doing a specific tribute to Sin at their opening ceremonies. They're working on additional posts. Like there's a lot of love in the community. But specifically being at the convention, with what I'm going to call it the Comic Logic family, but in greater depth, it's the All-Star Con family. That that bridge of what All-Star Con was, the convention that had been, is really what brought many of us, the large majority of us, at least in that area, together. And there were definitely a lot of people who we ran into there who have known us since the work we did at All-Star Con. And that convention is sorely missed. So it's understandable that anytime, even if it's a different convention, we all get a chance to get together and see each other and so forth. And I know a lot of that also is bridged to Comic Logic, to the shop itself. It's always really good. There were a lot of hugs in the building. There were definitely some tears in the building. And I was pretty good the majority of the trip. Leah said, "Whoop whoop, All-Star." That's right. Again, many of us go back to All-Star, and we made some really solid friendships there that just have continued to on over the years. It's hard to imagine how long ago that was, but it was quite some time ago at this point. So, yeah, we had a really good time. We closed out the convention and decided to get something to eat before we went to go see K-Pop Demon Hunters. And again, I want to make it clear that, like, K-Pop Demon Hunters was currently one of Sin's favorite films. I love the film. It was easily one of his most played soundtracks currently, specifically. And we had to do it, right? And if Sin had been there, we would have done it anyway, because we just enjoy it and love it so much. And again, soundtrack's kind of fire. So it would have been a thing regardless, but it definitely felt right to make sure that we went and we did that thing while we were together over the weekend. But in between the convention and going to the theater, even though it was an Alamo Draft House and we could get drinks and food there, I was like, well, that's not till like 9 o'clock, so we should probably eat before then. And Andrew says, too bad my job has me busy during the weekends. Would love to see you all at a con. You know what, Andrew, you tell your job I said you need a break. You know what I mean? And I would love to see you at some conventions. It would be nice if some of them maybe were, there are some that start like Thursday, so maybe you could get in the first couple days, or Thursday, Friday, or something like that. Rob wants to know who chose the dinner venue. I chose the dinner venue. Rob, I said I will go. I'm gonna go back to the hotel. I'll find a place we can all go for dinner, because I knew everybody wasn't going to the movie, but we all do need to, let's do something together before that happens. And I saw there was a Hooters nearby. And I was like, well, that's clearly where we need to go. And so I texted Frosty and I was like, hey, how about Hooters? And she said, no. So I came back to the convention to see Gabby, because I promised Gabby, she made me promise I wouldn't leave without saying goodbye. And I told her she'd probably leave before me, and then I forgot. And so we had to come back so we can make sure we saw Gabby before she left. But I got there and I just started asking other people, what's up with Hooters? And they were like, are you serious? And I was like, absolutely. But here's what you got to understand. One, Hooters is awesome. Two, great wings, great tots. And as you can see here, Zaina says, hey, throwback to Be More Comic Con's Hooters. Exactly. Which is part of why we did it. I did explain. Kay says, I would have said yes. Of course. Leah said, oh, no, not Hooters. Of course, Hooters. J. Robert Dean said we went there because that was where the showrunner after party was supposed to be. That's our excuse. If you say so. Listen. Frosty said, I said no because people thought you were kidding. Well, I wasn't. She said, me being one of them, which I said, you asked me, was I serious? I'm like, yeah. Here's the thing. As part of tradition, as you just saw Zaina post, I did explain to everyone there once I got there that, like, it used to be that there was a Hooters next to the harbor at Baltimore Comic Con. And whenever we would leave Baltimore Comic Con, it was tradition that afterwards we would go to Hooters, we would eat, and then we would leave. And there's an entire story about something that happened with Sin, with me and somebody in the parking lot, somebody trying to start a fight with Sin and me getting into it with them. And that's not really the point. The point was, it was a thing that we used to do. And the fact that when I went to, like, I have been in that parking lot, at that convention center, and at that hotel many times. And never did I realize that there was a Hooters that literally is basically in that parking lot. I'd never even paid attention to it. So when I went back to the hotel and I jumped on my Waze app and just typed in food and saw Hooters, I was like, that's it. And even people who were there when I was like, yeah, let's go to Hooters, there are people who are like, I've lived here for years and didn't realize there was a Hooters right there. So, you know. Andrew says, maybe Ocean City Comic Con is the only one this year I'll be able to take off for. Well, listen, you let us know because we'll be there. J. Robert Deans wants to know how much crap did I give the waitress at Hooters? None, because I understood everything on the menu. J. Robert Deans, it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Visual Destroyer says, I wish Saturday Night Matinee was still around so I could hit up in honor of London. You know what? It would be really nice if you could, but I'll tell you what, he'd be perfectly fine if you jumped on Netflix and just watched it and sang along in his honor, because, again, we had a good time and would have. Anyway, J. Robert Dean said, I will say that the food was a lot better than I expected. Yeah, I mean, they actually have, like, award-winning wings, for real. Chris Lightning said, I need to hit a con up ASAP. You're correct. You do. And you just let me know and we'll hit it together. I'll make sure we get up in there. Kay said, and because it's Hooters. Yes, Lord. I mean, sure. And I mean, I'm not, to be honest, man, once again, we were there amongst family with a lot of people just talking and having a good time and, you know, throwing drinks back. And you know, Sin loved to give Tatiana a hard time, really anybody a hard time who believes that boneless wings are a real thing. He'll tell you they're not a real thing. You can't have boneless wings. And so, of course, we ordered boneless wings. Landon said, man, that Canadian ham. I mean, facts. J. Robert Dean said the ambiance is still uncomfortable. I was perfectly comfortable, J. Robert Dean's. So I'm feel bad that you feel bad, like that it wasn't comfortable for you. I know that the chairs are not super comfortable in there for you, but they don't really want you to stay. They want you to drink and forget the chairs are terrible. Stools are terrible. That's, you know, that's marketing. Yes, Chris. Yes, Lightning. They were. Funnel cake fries. Many people there had never seen or heard of funnel cake fries. They were ahead of the table. They came with a little ramekin of chocolate. Dr. Who says a boneless wing is a nugget. And Leah says that's just chunks. And kind of. Hey, dog, listen. Listen, Chris Lightning. I'm not lying. They do have funnel cake fries. And let me tell you something. I order funnel cake fries relatively regularly when I order from Checkers. Checkers has funnel cake fries. And they're good. But they weren't these. These joints were like fried, crispy. Like they were pretty incredible. Yes, we need to spin the block. We can go back. We can go whenever you want. I'm down. Leah says chicken chunks. I know, but J. Robert Dean said, "Holy crap, broken back and a stool do not mix." You're right. Again, I know it wasn't. AO said that orange and white. Floyd said they were so good. They were really good. The wings are really good there. The boneless, quote unquote, boneless wings are really good. I had lemon pepper, and I had them bring me a side of like they got like a mandarin chili. It's just really good. It was really good. Hey, look, Rob said they were very good. I feel like everybody was super skeptical when I was like, we should go to Hooters. Nah, like I know what it looks like in there, but I'm telling you, the food's actually really good. Zayna said, okay, so someone who cannot eat bone-in wings, that was rude. I mean, yeah, but really, again, they're nuggets. And like, Frosty had like chicken tenders, which is almost the same thing. They should have put lemon pepper on them and I've only ever seen what I feel like are truly boneless wings at one place, and we're not going to get into that. It's local though. We'll take care of it. Actually, Zayna, you've had those. We get them there around the corner. Leslie said I was pumped for Hooters. Good, as you should be, because it was great in there. Rob said the funnel cake fries. You are right. Frosty said I had my tendies. They were tasty. Exactly. I'm trying to tell y'all, man. You gotta give them. If the atmosphere isn't for you, if sports on the TV and the shrunken clothes aren't your style, I totally get it. But I'll be honest with you, you could really just go for the food and ignore everything else. Everybody was really nice. Kay said, and the music is dope too. I'll be honest, they did have music playing, and I kind of remember some of it, but again, there was just so much going on, and again, we were talking and just kind of having a good time. And truthfully, I think mentally we were getting ourselves ready to get our singing voices ready so we go to K-pop Demon Hunters. So on to that we did, which again was just like incredible. It was incredible. And I know that we were a little bit concerned. Shout out to Tony for like buying our drinks and stuff when we first got there, treating us and looking out when we first got in there. We were a little concerned that there might be a bunch of kids and that might kind of mess it up. And we were like, but it's a 9:05 show. It maybe won't be as bad. Well, let me tell you something. Waiting in line to go inside the theater, they were already singing. Like they were already getting into it. And we got in there, and as the room started to fill up, you could just hear the children buzzing. We were not able to get great seats. Like we had good seats. But like we were certainly closer than we normally would have sat. But the joints just keep selling out. Chris Lane said, shout out to Tony, last name start. I mean, no, but sure. Zayna says, need y'all to know that such a good time was had. He called me on my way home from Jersey. He was very excited. Spirits very high. This is very true. It's very true. Yeah, like we went in. The movie starts. It's kind of like high energy when it starts, and like we were singing and we were loud, but like the kids were in there. Not just the kids, everybody, but they were in it and they were killing it. Like people were probably off key, but it's like being in a concert. You don't really know it. You can't really tell. Everybody's just singing. So it just really feels like you're in a concert. And every time a song comes on, even in places in the movie where it doesn't necessarily seem like they're doing a song, there are moments where they're kind of singing that I didn't really realize until we were there. And that, like, of course, at those points, they put the words up on the screen. And if the words went on the screen, we just started singing them. It made sense. So, it was cool. Like we had a really, really good time. We sang like we didn't care. We sang like we had been drinking a little bit too. There was definitely some of that. There was a lot of like seat dancing and just, again, it was, you know, And you'll see it when I post the videos. I can't, again, no promises, Frosty. You might just yes. Um, but you're definitely gonna get to see at least me and Jokes. For sure. We had a really good time. And when we left the theater, we did get a good picture, which I didn't get a copy of that picture. So whoever has that picture, I need somebody to send that to me. So we did take a really good big group picture at the theater before we left. Then we got outside the theater and there were like cosplayers outside. There was somebody dressed as Genu outside in his full-on Your Idol outfit, who we called over, and then someone took a picture, and then this little girl stayed on the opposite side of the street just staring because she decided that Frosty was definitely one of the K-pop demon hunters and just stared for like 15 minutes before she convinced her father to walk her across the street so that she could say hi to her. It was incredible. We had a really good time. We had a really good time for sure. And really the only downside is that I couldn't go back to the convention the next day because I needed to get back on this side, which is like only sort of a downside because it's my sister's birthday and we did a surprise party for her and she was very surprised. And so it was great. And so of course that's where I wanted and needed to be. But as a whole, the weekend was great. The day was great. It was extremely therapeutic, certainly necessary. You're right, Rob. It was super cute that Frosty was so taken aback. And she was on like a FaceTime call with her sister in Korea. And it was just like, you have to hold on because this little girl wants to talk to me. And she just wanted to say hi and then ask her questions. Yeah, it was really cute. So yeah. Let's see. J. Robert Dean said Mighty Morphin Cosplay was apparently at the same showing as y'all. Wants to eat and make shakes toys as the main demon hunters. Now let me tell you something. I saw her post her K-pop demon hunter cosplay. I did not see her at the convention. I was not under the impression that she was at the convention, but maybe you saw her there. But like again, we were stuck kind of towards the front of the theater. So easily she could have been sitting behind us and we would have never known it. Frosty said, might be one of the most incredibly adorable experiences I've ever had. That is truly believable because not only did she believe that you were a demon hunter, she convinced her little brother that you were too. Actually, her older brother that you were too, because he had some questions for you too. But, it was cool. And you handled it very well because you were quite surprised. But yeah, definitely a good time. Definitely extremely memorable. A really good way to do our first convention where Sin wasn't with us. Certainly felt like he was there. Like he was there amongst us in the room, in the convention, at the movies, at Hooters. And, it was great. J. Robert Dean says she stopped by to watch Sam give her panel on Sunday, which was her first ever panel. Yeah, I'm sorry I missed that. I did hear there was some weird stuff going on with the stage there, but it's a whole other thing. Andrew says it's Jokes and Marcus doing a finisher podcast. I wonder what his and Marcus' opinions are on the whole Psycho Stu and Raza Jackson controversy. Are they doing one? Yes. When? I don't know. Again, things are still a little bit out of whack. We are doing our best to keep things as on track and as normal as we can. I am positive they have opinions. I haven't asked them for any of them, though I do know that multiple times while we were like at Hooters and out, Jokes was on his phone and was yelling at Tatiana about things that happened in wrestling that she understood and I didn't. So I ate my boneless wings, and had my shot of tequila that nobody else seemed to want, which I guess is fine. So yeah, just overall a really great time. A really good way to again just commune with folks. Um, Frosty, tequila is. I mean, I'm not gonna tell you it's not nasty. It is. However, Chris Lightning shot sign you up for 4. You will be crying on the floor if you have 4 shots of tequila, Chris. I will not do that to you. Frosty said would have done any other shot, and you could have. KB said tequila on your lonely is blasphemy. Well, let me tell you how blasphemous it was, because I was definitely the only one getting it in. But it's cool. Chris said tequila is great. Oh, Chris says I can handle 4 easy. I know that we've had this conversation, Chris, about you becoming a tequila drinker. I just don't know if I want to. You know what? Here's the thing. To do some shots with you, Chris, I would put up with if you laid on the floor and you cried. It would be fine. J. Robert Dean said tequila, to quote Three Amigos, is like beer. Well, I don't like beer, but I get it. Frosty wants to throw up about tequila. You'll do a shot sooner than later. I got it. J. Robert Dean said, I think 4 shots is my limit. That's when it starts to affect me. It honestly, I can feel it at like 3, but it doesn't really affect me until I get to like 7, probably. Seriously. Chris said, I got a green bottle waiting for you. Okay. I'll see you this weekend, buddy. I'm down. So, okay. Last thing I want to do is get into what this weekend is supposed to be like. Again, obviously, we have Sin Service on, Frosty 7. 7 is like 7 and like trying to go do something. It's like a nah. But like I'm pretty okay if I limit it there. I don't drink them very often, but like I don't know. I guess because it's the only thing I drink, it tends to be all right. J. Robert Dean said, keep in mind, I carry a small pharmacy with me, so my real limit now is 0. That is fair and understood. So we'll keep it at 0 for you. So this weekend, obviously, again, like we were initially intended to be at Miryokucon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, we have Sin's service, so we will be there. A lot of you will be there. I think actually all of you will be there, I think, for the most part, for those who are in the I know there's a couple people who have already reached out to me and said they got flights and are going out of town, and we totally understand it's a holiday weekend, so we know people have plans and all that kind of stuff. So and it says 7 shots is crazy work, actually. It is, but I mean, I've seen you do worse. Probably not all tequila though. And so we're gonna do, obviously we're gonna do Sin Service on Friday. Saturday, Jokes and Tatiana and I will be at Miryokucon. Again, we are hosting a celebrity panel, and we have a Being Comfortable Being a Geek panel. It will be different for us. Obviously, it will be our first time doing a Being Comfortable Being a Geek panel without Sin. We'll make it work because that's what we do. And Chris Lighton is asking, where is that? So Miryokucon, it's in Baltimore. It is at the Lord Baltimore Hotel. And they actually have stuff that's running through like the event itself through like 10 o'clock at night, and then there's like an after party on Saturday and stuff. So there's stuff happening. I haven't decided if I'm staying or not. I may stay overnight Saturday night because it might be easy. Zayna said, not of tequila. Catch me with a soju bottle though. I'm hip. KB said too much tequila slander for my liking. Yeah, don't worry about it, man. I got you. I'm on your side. You're on my side. We're cool. You know what I mean? Less for them means more for us. And again, I don't really need more. I just that's the one that I choose. I tried to explain to Frosty what I don't like the taste of alcohol. Any alcohol. So I'm not telling anybody that tequila tastes good. It doesn't. But I don't think any alcohol tastes good. And I don't really care what you do to it. It's kind of just what it is. We also are hosting again on Sunday. So again, I may stay. I'm thinking about hitting the after party. So just to kind of again hang out and be amongst some folks. I think it'll be pretty cool. Chris said I need it. I sleep with like 5 bottles in my bed. Whoa. We might need to talk about that, bro. We might have to have a conversation. See me after the show. I felt like see me after class. See me after class, Mr. Lightning. Yeah, so we're gonna do that this weekend. Again, the convention has been extremely understanding. They get it, they understand the circumstances. One of the people who is really our contact / liaison for the convention also does record wrestling content sometimes with the team. His name's Mike. And so again, they get it, they understand. And we had a chance to talk with him while we were at Fairfax last weekend in person, as well as like via messenger and email and so forth. And actually, when I get done with this, I have a scheduled call with one of them. Zayna said Lightning is getting detention for that one. See, look, Lightning, now you got how you getting in trouble with the children? Getting in trouble with the kids, Chris. So yeah, so we're gonna do that. There is also TCon this weekend. So the proprietor of TCon is, her name is Michelle. Most people know her as Noodles. She's at a lot of the conventions we go to. She's really sweet, super nice. Her daughter is DJ Candy Crush, who DJs at a lot of the conventions and stuff that we go to, amongst other places and so forth. And she unfortunately lost her father a couple of days after Sin, like last Wednesday. So she was very good about reaching out to me. Again, like a lot of other people were, like a lot of you were, and talking about how we had all just been together at Otakon, a few days before. And yeah, she's really sweet, really good. She also runs another convention called PlannerCon, literally like journal and planners and stuff like that. It's a whole different ball game. There are tons of conventions out there, y'all, for the stuff you might be interested in. Just gotta look. But obviously, again, we have this convention, so I won't be able to do that. Joseph won't be able to do that. Kay is planning to go to TCon. So, like, if you go to TCon or you're in the area, and literally TCon it's a t-shirt convention. Like, it is a convention. There's a lot of art and a lot of artists, but it is a t-shirt convention. Kay's at least planning to go, I think, Saturday for that. Yeah, Lightning PlannerCon. I'm gonna tell you right now, it's expensive. It's expensive. It ain't. We'll talk about it. Andrew says, I gotta get off here. Have a great rest of the week, and all my condolences to you and Sin's family for the services. Appreciate you hanging out with us, Andrew. Thank you so much. You almost made it to the end. I'm getting ready to wrap the show up. So always a pleasure. Jay Robert Dean said PlannerCon sounds like a type A / ADHD playground. It probably is. You buy for the weekend, but it's not a small amount, but you're also getting like targeted assistance in like some of the best ways to plan and put things together. Like, it's, again, not to dig too deep into that right now, but again, that's another convention that's happening this weekend, and we're gonna try our best to find our ways to be at both of those, shoot lots of pictures and bring some content back to y'all. And then for the most part, by the time we get here again next Tuesday, it will be a little bit more on a regularly scheduled program. One last thing that I'd like to share is that we as a team are, still working on, again, clearly some of the best ways to move forward, but also some of the best ways for us to find ways to keep Sin a part of everything that we do. We're talking about naming certain segments after him, or, just stuff like that. Like, we're still figuring some of that stuff out. And, we're open to suggestions, because while we certainly feel a certain level of ownership over that kind of a thing because of who he was to us and who he was to me, we also recognize that he is and was a part of the community. And so having people be able to reach out or, share ideas that they have for ways that maybe we don't come up with, or things we didn't think of that might feel like or be the right thing, so that the community gets to share in that in some way. I think because, he was such a big part of the community and he is so heavily missed, that finding ways to do that in ways that don't just satisfy us, but also satisfy those of you who tune in and support us, is important. So, we're open to it, but we're working on that kind of stuff and figuring some of that stuff out. And we're making some modifications to even some of the panels we do and how we do them, and some of the topics that we cover when we do them, because of it. And so, while we are always a work in progress, we are a work in progress now with modifications in line, in tandem, consistently. And so you'll see things kind of shift and mold, and we're going to try new things that may be a little bit different, and maybe some different formats for things. And so things, will obviously be a little bit different than what you're used to seeing, but for the most part, the intention is for it to mostly look and feel the same. And the pieces that don't look and feel the same will be intentional. Yeah. So, that's a little bit of an update on where we are and what's going on. Look, you can go to loadingsnacks.com. Website is up. It's live. Makes it easy for you to follow us across social media and so forth, and kind of see what we're doing. We're a little bit behind on things now, again, because of everything that's going on, but that'll be a good place. Like, we'll be continuing to update there for like what shows we have coming up and that kind of thing. I've also had a couple people reach out that were just like, they wish that there was a place where they could go, where they could find out like just what conventions are happening and so forth, period. So I've been working on something, excuse me, for that, where you'll be able to like just put your zip code in and find out what kind of like pop culture conventions and stuff like that are happening in areas near you in times that are coming up. And you'll be able to like do within a certain radius and all that. It's in a testing phase right now. I've run it through. It works mostly well, but it has some kinks that still need to be worked out, to say the least. But it mostly works, and we're working on doing stuff like that as well. So there's still a lot happening. We are planning for Extra Life. It is coming up extremely quickly. It'll be here before we know it. And so we're, again, kind of reconfiguring some of the plans that happen with that, and how we do that. We are looking for people who want to jump in and play games with us, and really, really like get into some co-op and that kind of stuff. So we'll get that squared away. Chris, I'll get you all those dates, and I'll see you on Friday, and we'll talk about all that stuff. We can do it after the service, after the after. Chris said me and Click showing up 100%. I did talk to Click about that too already. So again, we'd love to have y'all. Love to see you. We definitely have some games in line. Helldivers hit today. And Sen and I talked a lot about getting into Helldivers, especially now that it's on Xbox. And so that was, of course, originally our plan for today was to get in and do that as soon as this was over. And look, man, I'm gonna give Jokes a hard time because I can, because Jokes was like, we talked about it already, and I was like, you know what? We could jump in and we can run some Helldivers, and that'll be kind of a good way for us to, just kind of do a little bit of a tribute and do something that, we knew he was looking forward to doing. And then I talked to Jokes and I was like, you download it? And he was like, nah, I didn't do it. And I was like, oh, all right. Chris, you want to do shots for Extra Life? That's kind of, that could be real dangerous. But if the money's right. But my man said, yeah, we diving. Yeah, I'm down. Again, I might get on it for a little bit tonight, but I really got to get up super early now, and lock some things down. Had to go get a new suit so we can be fresh for Friday. So gotta knock that out. China said actually. What actually? Say. Oh, you talking about the Friday after? Oh yeah, there's definitely gonna be some of that. I'm positive. J. Robert Dean said jokes being jokes, which is true. I don't really have expectations for that to be different, and it's great. Chris Lyons said, "Wait, I'm wearing a suit. I'm not making you wear a suit, but that's how I get down. I get down. So yeah, you know what I mean. I have a purple shirt, but new purple shirt, new tie. It's going down. Anyway, look, I'm gonna wrap this one up. I want to thank everybody for hanging out this evening and just kind of chatting with me. A little fireside, something, if you will. You all have been great. The comments have been great. It was really great to see so many of you over this past weekend. Even though the circumstances are not what we would want it to be, I am also really looking forward to seeing you, a lot of you, this weekend, this Friday. It will just be, again, good to commune with people who I know really, really loved him. J. Robert Dean said, hey, I'm wearing pants. That's a big move for me. Most of the time I see you sitting behind the table, so I don't know. Could be. Kay said, yup. Yeah, man. Ties, bro. It does sound worse than it should, although it's probably true. J. Robert Dean. So yeah, thank y'all for hanging out tonight. Again, it's been great to have you. Looking forward to talking with you next week. If you make it out to Miryokucon this weekend, make sure you stop and say hi. It'll be great to talk to you there as well. KB, I appreciate you too. And 143 back at you, Nana. You all know that having a well thought out plan doesn't make it a good idea. I don't need jokes for you to know that. You know it at this point. I will also see you Friday, J. Robert Deans. With that, we're out. Toodles and loose.